No one had ever done that.
Solo?
Yeah. Most people think if you go to the Titanic, you'll see the wreck. You don't. You see a very limited amount.
How close did you get to it?
Okay, so the first time I went to Titanic, I didn't realize how big it was.
Was it eerie down there? I mean, how many people died on that?
It was just me and the wreck. It was spooky.
I'll bet.
I will confess. In fact, at one point, the lights of my submarine were shining into the wreck through the glass portals, almost like you could see someone with a light inside.
What went wrong with that sub?
Oh, gosh.
What happened there?
No, the Titan. The last phone conversation I had with him, I said, do not get in that submersible. It is inherently dangerous. You're playing Russian roulette getting in that thing.
Let's move into some of the expeditions that you've done. I'm dying to hear about the Titanic.
Oh, the Titanic. Everybody loves talking about Titanic. Titanic, I guess the best way to start the story of I did 3 dives to Titanic. My team did 5. We were the first crewed mission, people actually going to visit the wreck in 15 years. And we did that in 2019. It took us 2 tries. The first try, we got out there and there was a hurricane and we couldn't dive the sub, but we went the following year. So on the very first dive, it was my system, my crew. I said, I want to take it down solo. No one had ever done that.
Solo?
Yeah. So now I've been quoted as saying, and it's true, probably the most dangerous dive I ever did, including the ones to the Mariana Trench. The most dangerous one was the first dive I did at the Titanic solo. And the reason why, wrecks are very dangerous because they have cables and ropes. And the number one danger to a submersible is getting entangled, the propellers, with a rope or a cable. You can't go out there and untangle it. You have to rely on a single switch to eject that part of the exterior that is entangled. And if that switch doesn't work, you're out of luck. So it's kind of dangerous. The currents at the Titanic, especially the day I did my first dive, were very strong, about a knot and a half, which doesn't sound like a lot, but that's the maximum speed of the sub. So there were times when I was at maximum power and I wasn't moving, which meant that I could be thrown into the wreck with all sorts of bad consequences. Plus, it's very dark down there. Most people think if you go to the Titanic, you'll see the wreck. You don't. You see a very limited amount, like 30 or 40 meters maximum, really only about 20 because there's so much stuff in the water. So you're only looking at it like through a straw here and there. It's cool, don't get me wrong, but it's not like seeing the grand vista of the wreck. You're seeing it only in particles at a time. You get a better view of the Titanic on the recent special that was done by Atlantic Productions that showed a virtual creation of the wreck on the seafloor all at once. I saw that for the first time and went, wow, it's like the first time I've really seen the wreck. And I'd been there 3 times. So first dive, I went down and half the time I was looking inside the sub at the sonar display. And the other half of the time, I'm trying to look outside the window to see how close I am to the wreck, et cetera. That's really dangerous. What I learned on that dive, you need one person on the inside monitoring the instruments and the sonar, one person staring outside for obstructions. So that first dive was tricky. So
how close did you get to it?
Okay, so the first time I went to Titanic, I'm solo in the sub. They drop you a couple hundred meters away from it so you don't land on it. That's a requirement. So I get in the sub, I get to the seafloor. I'm at 4,000 meters or so. And I start creeping up to the what I think is the direction of the wreck. At about 100 meters off, I get the first ping on the sonar. You see it like on a display. Oh, hey, there's something out there. And then I get closer and closer, and now I'm like 40 meters away, the maximum extent of my lights. I'm looking out the window. I see nothing but black. I start inching the sub closer. Now I'm 20 meters away from what's on the sonar, this big jumbled mass of something. Okay, is that a rock? Is something wrong with the sonar? I'm looking out the window, nothing but black. So I inch the sub really close. I'm like 5 meters from this big sonar target in front of me. I'm looking out the window, nothing but black ocean. And then it hit me. I went, oh. I slowly started to go up in the submarine. And within a second or two, I saw the first row of portals. And then the next row of portals. And then the next, and then the railing. I didn't realize how big it was.
Wow.
So my first experience with the Titanic was this realization of, this is a big wreck. And then, of course, when I got to the railing, the current was hitting the side of the Titanic, and it pushed the sub like towards the wreck, right into it. And I didn't hit it. I did an emergency maneuver with the thrusters and regained control, calmed down a little bit, and then I was able to do the classic tour of the bow and get good video of it and slowly start surveying the wreck. And then did that for a couple of hours. And then the front and the back of the ship, the bow and the stern, they're separated by several hundred meters. So it's kind of cool. The way you get to the stern is you go to a point on the bow section of the wreck, and you put yourself in a certain position that you get briefed on. Then you point the submersible in a certain exact direction, and then just go on that vector for about 40 minutes. And then by going on that vector, you'll go through the debris field, you'll see some cool stuff on the bottom, and then you'll come to the bottom, the aft of the wreck, which is just a shambles. And that's how you survey the Titanic. After the 4 hours I did doing that, I mean, I was ready to come up.
I'll bet. Was it eerie down there? I mean, how many people died on that?
It was just me and the wreck. It was spooky.
I'll bet.
I will confess. In fact, at one point, the lights of my submarine were shining into the wreck through the glass portals, almost like you could see someone with a light inside. It was weird. Now, there are no bodies there. The bodies have been consumed by the ocean, and you don't really see that much in terms of personal artifacts. But it's like a big, jumbled, dark, spooky museum.
What depth is it?
3,960 meters. It's very deep. I mean, Challenger deep is 11,000. So, in fact, for my submersible, the Titanic wasn't even deep enough to qualify as a deep dive.
No kidding.
In terms of the maintenance records, yeah. It was considered below 4,000 meters was not even considered a dive. It was too shallow.
What specifically drew you to go into the Titanic 3 separate times?
Well, we were there on one expedition. So we did 5 dives over about a week and a half. And the reason we went Titanic was we were going to the bottom of all 5 of the world's oceans. And at one point we had to go to the Arctic Ocean, and we were going through the Panama Canal. We drew a line from the Panama Canal to where we were going in the Arctic, and it was like right over the Titanic. So we're like going, guys, we got to dive Titanic. We're going right over it. So we contacted National Geographic, and they were really excited that we could do a dive there. So we filmed it, and we didn't take people down commercially. We did a film expedition for Nat Geo.
What went wrong with that sub?
Oh, gosh.
What happened there?
No, the Titan. 2 of my friends were on it. Someone who worked for me, P.H. Nargiole, and Hamish Harding, who I actually went to space with as well. He and I went to the bottom of Challenger Deep. We set a distance record at Challenger Deep, and then he really, really wanted to go to Titanic, and I wasn't doing that anymore. And I wasn't taking people down anyway. And he really wanted to see it. And the last phone conversation I had with him, I said, do not get in that submersible. It is inherently dangerous. You're playing Russian roulette getting in that thing. And he said, well, I think it's safe enough. I said, you're a grown man. You can take the risk, but I'm telling you, don't go near it. And he died.
Damn.
It was structurally deficient. It was operated in an unsafe manner. This has all been well covered by the U.S. Coast Guard report. It was a slapdash operation. They didn't have enough funding to do it correctly or well. And they had to keep going because if they ever stopped for safety, the whole show would have stopped. And the owner, Stockton Rush, who I knew and had conversations with to stop what he was doing, he couldn't stop.
Damn.
Never get into a vehicle where their fear of failure is greater than their fear of dying.
Good advice. Good advice.
That's what they did.
No matter where you're watching Shawn Ryan Show from, if you get anything out of this, please like, comment, subscribe, and most importantly, share this everywhere you possibly can. And if you're feeling extra generous, please leave us a review on Apple and Spotify podcasts.